Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be talking about, in my personal opinion, some of the most important news of all this past year that's going to be going on in the market. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So the reason why I think this is very important news, and you'll kind of see like in the thumbnail if you're kind of trying to get an understanding of what I'm going to be talking about. But if you look at a lot of my thumbnails, of course, I do clickbaity titles and stuff to try to get the viewership. But when it comes to the overall premise of my personal belief on the market itself, is I do think that we're in a current state of the market, a bull market in the modern era, and that we're basically just going until the momentum dies out. The reason why I say this is probably going to be the most important video of the year, if not the past 2 years that I've put out, is because I personally think that this next set or two is going to determine whether or not we see that massive correction. And my personal reasoning behind that is, if you guys want to kind of take a look right now, I can pull it up on the screen as far as it goes so you guys can see some of the prices. But if we go right now and we take a look at some of the prices for the TCG Player website, you can take a look and see how everything is. Evolving Skies just got a reprint. The price literally went from 190 to 133. Absolute tank. Fusion Strike just went down 15 bucks. Celebrations packs have gone down $2.50. Chilling Reigns booster boxes have gone down 50 bucks. Battle Styles has gone down 20 bucks. I mean, I can keep going on, but specifically the cards that got a lot of reprints are the ones that obviously took the biggest hit, but there are still some sets that have seen a slight kind of fluctuation downwards in price. The Voltage booster packs were going for $5. They're now going for as low as $3, which is the lowest I've ever seen that. I mean, it's probably going to be more like $4, but it's still huge decrease. The booster box for Vivid Voltage was pushing 180. It's now down to 160, and there's no reprint for that. Shining Phase hasn't really done much, so there's nothing really concerning to look kind of there. Champion's Path kind of been stagnant. Hidden Fates has actually took a $20 price dive. I wouldn't call it a dive. 10% is still quite a bit, but I mean, not like completely concerning. And then Marnie has kind of gone sideways. But I mean, I guess the point in which I'm telling you guys all this and why I think it's important is, obviously we've seen huge market corrections with these recent reprints. And now obviously these sets, of course, will continue to go up over time after the reprints have kind of dried up. But ultimately, I think the fact of the matter is that we are just finishing up and wrapping up the hype for Celebrations. I mean, I don't know about you guys personally, but I'm already done with Celebrations. Obviously, this is my personal opinion. Take everything I say a grain of salt, and I'm not a personal financial advisor as well. But as far as it goes, I've opened about 150 plus packs of Celebrations. Still haven't pulled that Umbreon. Still haven't pulled that Charizard. I've pulled like 5 Blastoises and 5 Venusaurs, so that's infuriating. But as far as it goes, I've opened enough to where I'm just getting a ton of duplicates at this point, and I'm like, all right, I can just buy the rest for the set. And it's a fun one to open, don't get me wrong. But the hype has kind of started to fizzle. I mean, you can see that obviously with the reprints and the price dropping. Celebrations Elite Trainer Box went from $90 to $77, and a lot of the other product in and of itself has started to drop as well. With that being said, with the most recent news today, this is why I think this is going to be absolutely huge and very critical in the future of this market. So, as we kind of talked about, and, if you want to talk about this as a Poke News segment, if you want to talk about it as a Poke Market Talk segment, we can look at it in whichever way you do. But I think it's going to be a mix of both. Once again, Poke Beach is going to be my source. So our last thing that we had discussed and speculated about, which was important news for those that don't remember, is we had some new VMAX Climax character rares that were going to be revealed. VMAX Climax, as I've been saying for you guys forever, is the set that, in my personal opinion, is going to be the next Hidden Fates 2.0. And the reason why I've been saying that a lot is because if we want to go all the way back, we can take a look and see. December's VMAX Climax set is going to feature shiny Pokemon and more. The Pokemon that are going to be featured in it included shiny Rayquaza, shiny Mew, and shiny Duraludon VMAX, and more. So the reason why that is super important, you can read it right here, VMAX, Duraludon, and Mew. as far as shinies. The reason why I think that is super important, and this is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the details of what this said. It said the selling point of these high-class sets, because they've had all-star sets, they had the Ultra Shiny, which was the Hidden Fates for Japan. It says last year's Shiny Star V featured 140 secret rares, and 2019's Tag Team All-Star featured 50 plus, and 2018's Ultra Shiny featured 100. One thing that's very important to kind of discuss and talk about is over the fact of the matter that their set came out in 2018. Their set came out in 2018 sometime later in the fall, versus our set for Shining or Hidden Fates came out in 2019 in August. So the reason why that is very important is it's almost a full year until the set came out in English. So with that being said, if this is true, obviously we're speculating, okay, we're going to at least have, 3 banger shinies. My personal opinion, 2 out of 3. I'm not a huge Duraludon fan. If you are a Duraludon fan, I'm sorry for offending you. But Rayquaza VMAX and Mew VMAX shiny are going to be absolutely huge. With that being said, we're going to take, once again, the assumption that there are going to be a kind of, Shining Fates, Hidden Fates kind of 2.0. It's going to really focus on all of the cards from the past Sword and Shield era sets. However, it was just released, and this is why this is absolutely massive news. It was just released that the next Pokemon set that is going to be coming out in English is going to be Brilliant Stars, which was officially revealed today. So we don't know the full set list of the cards. However, one thing we do know is that it is going to feature some of the character arts that we originally thought were going to be in VMAX Climax in English. Now, this is not surprising considering the fact of the matter that the English sets are notorious for just jamming everything in versus the Japanese set is breaking it up. And this is something we also talked about and speculated, because I said that I thought it would be interesting if they jammed them all into one and made a Cosmic Eclipse Hidden Fates hybrid, but I was very speculative on if they were going to do that. Obviously, that is something they had talked about on here, but it was unconfirmed. So it looks like, from the sounds of it, that the Brilliant Star will have a special trainer gallery subset of 30 cards with artwork featuring fan favorite trainers and Pokemon. So I'm going to speculate here, and I could be 100% wrong here, but for those that want to see, obviously we already saw what the Arceus looks like, but they also showed the Charizard V-Star as well. Not a bad looking card. And then, of course, as well, with the artwork, they're going to have a Shaman V-Star, and then they're going to have a Whimsicott V-Star as well. So first off, the Elite Trainer box, in my personal opinion, looks absolutely beautiful. So this is an 8-pack set, which means we're more than likely going to get booster boxes out of this. If I'm correct, this is the 10-pack, Elite Trainer box exclusive from the Pokemon Center. But it looks like it will be a booster box set, and it's going to be an absolute massive set as well. It is going to contain, an absolute atrocious amount of cards from the looks of it. So why do I think this is such a huge deal or a make or break deal? Is because right now Pokemon has been running purely on momentum when it comes to the overall value in which modern boxes are going. Because you guys have to understand that the reason why we've been seeing such a huge spike, and here there's a couple of things I think that's important to talk about. You have to talk about, and we've talked about this in older videos, supply, demand, and those are the two most important things really when discussing. So you have the overall supply chain right now that's been completely logged up, and so because of that, the overall manufacturing production of this product has been very minimal. And then you have huge demand because everyone was kind of locked up, everyone got their stimmy checks, and people were starting to get back into Pokemon. Now it looks like people are still getting back into Pokemon. We're having winter coming soon, so there are going to be a lot of people still collecting. So you only really see a huge dive off in a lot of the overvalued prices back with the WotC era, when you had a huge correction as far as it goes with the undervaluing of the cards, because one thing that you also have to understand is there was what's called a reevaluation phase. Reevaluation phase is basically demand for Pokemon product was very low, but a lot of these cards were selling for dirt cheap and they were undervalued based off their population report. Now, of course, as soon as demand ramped up, people realized how rare they actually were, and there was a reevaluation where you started to see the true price correction upwards and the value of the card found its real market value, versus some cards were overvalued based on the overall hype within the market. And so you're starting to see, once again, whether or not we're going to see that price correction coming in Modern. We saw that with WotC. We saw that in specific subsets of older cards. But you've seen slight corrections, and I mean slight ranges anywhere between 20 to 50%. I don't know if some people will call that slight or not, but if you're looking at it from a correlating perspective, which we talked about in our videos with cryptocurrencies, that is very slight. Because with the cryptocurrencies, you see Bitcoin and other altcoins do retraces anywhere between 70 to 90%. Reason why that is very important to talk about is because if you look at the overall history when it comes to the price of these products, I remember the Charizard back in 2016, the first edition Shadowless was selling for around $50,000. And then right before our boom, it sold for as low as $3,800 in a PSA 10. And that was because the demand started to die out. You look at that from a retrace perspective, that's more than 90% retrace. And of course, that is absolutely at its all-time low. Now, it did start to level out more or less at a $10,000 price point, but that's still around an 80% retrace when you look at it. And if you guys don't believe me on this, we can go and we can do a little bit of a Pokemon price analytics. We can go to base set. We can look at Charizard first edition holographic. Shout out to PokemonPrice.com as well for getting all this price information. And then we can take a look at the overall price chart and see everything leading up until 2016. So as you guys can see, obviously the peak, this is the last sale that we have on here. I think we did have one on auction sell for less, but as far as it goes, just looking at this price data, $400,000. Now you want to go back to 2016. This is obviously not represented properly in my personal opinion. There was that sold for around $35,000, $50,000 back when, Pokemon Go first came out. But basically to kind of demonstrate what happened, here's one right here, 2018. One sold for about $40,000. You saw the correction, and you can determine whether or not you think this one is a fluke specifically, but this one sold for around $6,200. This one sold for about $3,600. So basically what you saw was it go from 8,000, slowly climb, slowly climb. And with over the span of 2 years, you started to see a nice slow growth. And then from that as well, you started to see a flattening of the price. It was very stagnant for about a full year or so, and then started to decline. Obviously, this is based off of individual sales, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did have numerical sales or multiple that isn't shown in the data here that can represent this. But of course, right before that happened, we then see an absolute huge spike in value in the overall cards in of itself. And from that, you started to see just an absolute boom in the Pokemon market. You guys want to do some quick math. If we're just looking purely off this chart in and of itself, you're saying to yourself $40,000 and you're going to say 6,000. How much was it again? 6,200. So if you want to do some quick math, 6,200 divided by, we'll do 40,000 just to look at this. Obviously, I said the high was 50, but we're going to do this. I mean, as far as it goes, that is not a massive, you can look at it from one way or another, but what we're seeing right now, guys, this is about an 85% retrace. Like, that is a massive retrace. And you're saying to yourself, we're sitting at upwards of $400,000. Guys, if we're saying to ourselves, we're going to get a real retrace on this bad boy, then we're saying to ourselves, did not mean to click that. We're saying to ourselves, that more than likely, here, let's take a look, times 0.85. We're saying that more than likely the price in and of itself is going to go down to about $60,000. not negative 60. Please ignore that. So I'm not saying that that's as low as it's going to go, but if history repeats itself, we could go to as low as 60 and as much as, I think as high as 100,000. I think if we're talking about a real retrace, especially when, a lot of people are like, oh, we've already seen like 50% retrace on a lot of WotC cards. Well, those cards that are performing weak with high retraces are probably going to get hit even harder when we do see the bubble, because this bubble is not even bursted whatsoever, in my personal opinion. I mean, you guys want to talk about freaking Bitcoin, guys? That went from 20,000 to 3,000 like it was nothing. And then from that, it went even higher. And the thing you have to also understand from the previous market cycle, the overall high of Bitcoin back in 2014 was 3,000. And then it retraced down to 1,000. The overall high before that, back in 2010, was 1,000. So history repeats itself, then we're going to say Bitcoin is probably going to find a high sometime in the next year, and then over the next 2 years it's going to retrace down to 20,000, because historically speaking it retraces back to its prior high. With that being said, I think that $50,000 is the last high that I know of. It could retrace to as low as that. 60,000 could be more realistic. But I mean, if we're still in a pretty solid market, 100,000 could even be what it retraces to. But I think it's at least going to lose 2/3 of its value. Now, obviously, this is all very speculative bearish news. And now I'm not saying that that's all going to happen now. What I am saying is, once again, we're talking about the overall hype in this market and how important it's going to play a role. And if you're telling me that our next set is not going to be coming out until February 25th, and our next set comes out in November 12th. And now, granted, I think it's going to be a great set. I think Fusion Strike is going to be a great set. I think it was going to be an absolute bust set before they really introduced the Celebi, the Gengar, the Espeon. I think that saved the set, in my personal opinion. Otherwise, I think it was going to be in less demand than it was with the battle styles. I think it was going to have less pulls, because although Mew is one of my favorite, having a Genesect, a Mew, and a Greedent is not going to draw people in. Having a Gengar, a Espeon, and a Inteleon is going to. And Celebi, of course. Don't ever forget that. So, with that being said, we're going to have to wait 4 months, basically, right? You're saying the rest of November, all of December, all of January, and then leading into February 25th, right? So you're saying to yourself, guys, you're basically waiting 3.5, 4 months until the next set comes out, and it's going to be absolutely dry. Now, obviously, we're going to have the December set come out in Japan. That is going to be the VMAX Climax. Now, this is where it's going to be more important than, in my personal opinion, this upcoming Brilliant Star set, because Hidden Fates was a massive monster set. And so when it comes to the overall demand in the market, if VMAX Climax, 2 things. 1, if it is not the next Hidden Fates 2.0 set, then I think the market could see the correction coming in very soon next year. 2, if we seriously have to wait until August, unless Brilliant Stars is an absolute amazing set, Cosmic Eclipse 2.0, brilliant, everyone loves it, everyone wants it, and these VMAX All-Star cards are not going to blow out of the water, I think we correct. And I think it's going to come swift, and I think it's going to go hard, because the demand is going to die out. Because the thing about especially America, and especially the modern day people, we have a very limited attention span. We always want what's next. There's a reason why a lot of these prices are starting to correct so fast. It's because people want the next best thing. People are already sick and tired of Chilling Reigns, and then moving on to Evolving Skies, and then moving on to Celebrations, and they're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And obviously for the general population and public, of course, it's very expensive, and so it's very hard for people to collect. But from an opening perspective, people always want to be opening what's new and what's fresh. And so with that being said, if people are going to have to wait 4 months for a set, 1, the hype leading up to that is going to have to be massive. Otherwise, we're going to see a massive correction. And if it isn't, then we're going to start to see a lot of this market really start to come down, and it's going to come down really quick. And so that's why I think this is very important. And that's coming from someone who's been very bullish. And I've been very speculatively bullish is what I think is more important to say. Because I've been saying basically that as long as the hype continues, I think we're going to continue to see a bull market. Obviously, I keep saying this and I'll continue to say this. Certain areas are going to take hits. We saw that with Hidden Fates PSA cards that came back. And I said the same with a lot of the WotC era cards. But of course, we've seen Modern still be strong. And so it's one of those things that's going to be huge. And not to mention the fact of the matter, I don't know if I can speak on behalf of other distributors, but I know for a fact my distributor over the past year was selling booster boxes for $79 and is now selling it for almost $90. So when you're telling me that they've increased the price of booster box sales for your distributor by $10, aka about 15%, you're going to say if the price does start to come down, unless distributors start to adjust the overall demand, the affordability in prices is going to really come out, and it's going to either make everything stay expensive, or for those people that are big box sellers, they're going to be the predominant salespeople that are going to be bringing it up. Otherwise, a lot of distributors are not going to be able to sell product to smaller people that aren't going to be able to buy up because their margins are so small. For example, I showed this in the Discord. I think I talked about this before. I can't buy a Chilling Reigns or a Battle Styles booster box for $100 and try and resell it when I can buy it cheaper on eBay right now. So I have zero margin on that. And so when it comes for me getting these reprints of product, I can't do that. My distributors have gotten really greedy when it comes to that, and that's purely based off the fact of the matter, they have the option to do that because they have that incentive structure based on how the market's been performing. Some people will be able to sell it for higher if they can, great for them. Otherwise, they'll have to adjust and bring the prices lower. And that's what's something that is either going to have to happen, or you're going to see a stalemate in the market where they're not going to bring down their prices because of inflationary prices, because the value of the dollar has gone down. Or you're going to see the fact of the matter that they are going to bring down the prices to try and adjust for the overall dying of demand so that they can have their retailers be able to buy the product from them at these distributor rate prices. So it's going to be something that I think is going to come, and it's going to come hard and fast. I think you'll see an absolute bubble pop initially, and then you're going to see slowly a dwindling over the next year or two where the demand starts to go down. Now, obviously, we've talked about, speculatively speaking, if this is going to hit a large portion of the sealed market. We have seen sealed prices actually gone down drastically in a lot of areas when it comes to the overall vintage. I mean, we were talking about, Team Rocket was selling for around $20,000. And I think you can get it now for, as low as $10,000, $12,000 for a first edition Team Rocket, which you might say to yourself, like, that's still pretty good. Like, I agree with you. But that shows us that it's almost been a 50% retrace from its overall high sales, showing that, sealed product is still vulnerable. Because if demand's not there, regardless of whether it's a safe investment long term, that's something that I think that is very important to look at. And, I want to also make a response into one of the videos that I saw. Shout out to Danny Phantom. He made a video not that long ago talking about the importance in understanding, sealed product. And he was talking about the fact of the matter that, everyone has this, kind of understanding that you can just buy Pokemon sealed product and then throw it away. And then you're just going to come up on a lump sum of money long term. Now, of course, he's saying that's not realistic, and although I do agree with him, I do think that long-term value-wise, you're still going to see huge returns when it comes to the overall value of Pokemon product, and you are going to be safe. If you're looking at this from a scalper's flipping perspective, then you're going to be in the wrong market when it comes time for the bears. But if you're someone that's a long-term investor, a long-term collector, you're going to be absolutely loving the next year or two. Obviously, from a business perspective for myself, I might take a huge hit on that. We'll see, especially considering it really comes down to distributor prices. But from an overall collector's perspective and a long-term investing perspective, it's going to be one of the best times people invest. Because you have to understand, as Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. When Bitcoin was down at $3,000, that was the time I was telling people it's the best time to buy now. People were scared, thinking it's going to zero. And then now, of course, Bitcoin's pushing its run to $100,000. Everyone's getting excited, although I do think that we could potentially see that once you start hitting those prices. I'm going to start to get fearful. I'm going to get ready to start pulling profits and say, all right, we could see a correction down to $20,000 because that's just how this works. And this is what's going to be coming in the market very soon. So basically, this is kind of a video just saying, speculatively speaking, what's going to come out in the next month or so when we kind of find out more information about VMAX Climax when it does come out in Japan is going to be very important information. So we're going to be talking about it and, of course, updating you guys along the way as kind of more information comes out. But by all of me saying this, basically, I'm just telling everyone to be on guard, because this market could just peter out fast and very, very quickly. So as far as it goes, if you are one of those people that does like to look at everything from, a very small lens and a very small scope, which I think can be fruitful, but I think long-term is kind of the way to go. Be aware of the next couple of months and the importance that is going to be this VMAX Climax set that's going to be released in Japan in December. But yeah, so as far as it goes, that is all I actually have for today's video. 25 minutes long, a lot of important information, a lot of things that we kind of looked at. Speculation, of course, as always, once again, not financial advisor, but nonetheless, I still think it's very important. And it's going to be exciting. I mean, one way or another. If the hype continues, then sweet, we're going to get some amazing new sets that we're going to be able to get introduced into the Pokemon market. Or if the hype dies out, guess what? Sweet, prices will start to decline and you'll be able to buy some older product for a lot cheaper. So in my personal opinion, I look at it as a win-win perspective, because you got to be able to be sharp and be able to look at opportunities in the market and not get kind of fearful of the lack of when it comes to looking at the way in which the market is from a single lens. But that is all I have for today's video. Thank you. That is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. As always, please make sure to leave a like down below and leave a comment down below, as it really does help out the algorithm. Please hit that notification bell and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on all things Pokemon USA has to offer and all update on everything going on in the Pokemon world. And then lastly, make sure to check out the description down below in this video and check out our website at PokemartUSA.com and all of our social media info. Once again, down in the description down below, you can see all the links for that. But anyway, that is all I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Friday. Peace.